Thank you for joining us for another episode of Upstream with RiverX. I'm your host today, Kieran Berry. And today I'm joined by Ali and Gabby from Blossom. Guys, thank you very much for joining me.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Before we kick off, we have to go through our standard disclaimer. So anything that we say or anything that the listeners hear on this podcast is just general information in nature and shouldn't be considered as personal or specific advice. But without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to our audience. And I think it would be great for the benefit of our audience, each of you could tell us a little bit about your background, where you come from, and then a little bit about Blossom. So Ali, I might kick off with you.
Sure. Hi everyone, I'm Ali. I'm Gabby's older sister, not necessarily wiser, just older. So my background was I studied finance. I went into venture capital for a few years. I then went into an operational role at a startup working in the employee benefit space, and then came across full-time after starting Blossom with Gabs. And now it's my full-time gig, loving it. I'll let Gabs tell you a bit about her, and then she can tell you more about what we've built today.
And I also studied commerce. I also then went into a startup, but I was in 2 tech startups, both in the wellness space, and then went to a startup in the automotive industry. So it was always young teams, really fast-paced, dynamic environments, which I absolutely loved. Loved wearing the multiple hats and just rolling up your sleeves and getting your hands dirty in whatever the business needed. And then COVID hit, we all got stuck at home. And Ali will probably tell you this later, but our entire family's in finance. So dad, cousins, uncles, brother-in-laws, everyone. And during COVID, we were just discussing things as we normally do, always bringing innovative finance ideas for discussion around the dinner table. And one week it was actually fixed income. So we both started looking into it because it was matching kind of our, I guess, risk tolerance at the time, with the stock market crashing due to COVID and the crypto bubble burst and property at, like, I guess, volatile rates. And we wanted to try and do some research into how we could access the fixed income market. And immediately we found high minimums, long lockups, high fees for someone else to manage your money. And we wanted to put our heads together and see if we could democratize this space for the retail investor. And we've done just that, and 3.5 years ago. So that led us to launching Blossom.
And it's been quite an exciting journey. And just listening to your roots, your foundation, so you've got a family in finance. Did you both study at the same university? Or different universities?
No, I was at Macquarie University.
Yeah.
Most of it was online, and I spent a lot of my time outside of study actually in my first job. So I was eager to get into the workplace. VC was wonderful because it meant that I met a lot of great people who had done pretty well themselves, had built interesting businesses. I got exposure to lots of different business models. And so at the time when I was meant to be studying, I was also out there in the workforce, just trying to wrap my head around what the outside world looks like. And it set me up pretty nicely for where we got to today.
And where did you study?
UNSW.
Yeah.
I also was spending most of my time at work because I just thought that the tech startup environment was a lot more interesting than the classroom. So similar to exactly what Ali said.
And what I find really interesting is you haven't taken the traditional pathway to starting a fintech. Most people that we speak to that are in the fintech space are someone who's worked in the traditional finance channel, whether it be in funds management or as a financial advisor, and then they've come into fintech. But you're coming from a completely different angle, which is really, really interesting and unique. And you've both got a background in VC and tech startup, which I think gives you a really good foundation to sort of get this business on the right track very early on and set some solid foundations. So when the two of you were locked down in COVID together and you're around the family dinner table and you're exploring investment ideas and looking at opportunities, and then coming up with a business plan would have been the next part. What were the most important things for you in terms of setting a foundation for your business?
I think it was creating a really long to-do list to start. So we had so many issues that we had to solve. We had to find legal support, compliance support. Obviously, it's a heavily regulated environment. We needed to find a fund manager who's going to manage our money. We needed to get a financial services license. We needed to figure out who was going to build the app so that people could access the financial product, and on and on and on and on. And I think we wrote that big list, and the list is still going. So it was really just getting the foundation set up and making sure that we had the key stakeholders in place that would enable us to lift this off the ground. And here we are almost 4 years later.
And then, so you set the foundations, you had a game plan, because obviously having that background in startup, VC, you understand the importance of cash flow and balance sheet and structure. How did it get off the ground once you had the plan in place? Did you have a seed investor or someone like that gave you your first cash?
So we started marketing a wait list, actually. Yeah. And so while we were building everything in the background, we were marketing that, hey, there's a new fixed income product. It's called Blossom. We're going to provide access to the Blossom Fund. These are the returns we'll be targeting. Do you want to get involved? If so, give us your email address and we'll let you know as soon as the product's live. So it enabled us to generate a little bit more interest and excitement before we launched, so that once we were ready to open the door and start accepting funds, we kind of had 3,500 people who were really excited and ready to help us seed the fund. So the first $5,000 we put in was our own money. Then we're like, yes, 10 grand under management. And then slowly customers who were converting from the wait list into actual investors, they helped us get off the ground. And I think in the first 7 weeks, we had 10 mil under management already. Something like that. We have to go back and check.
That's great. And you got to start somewhere. And the first $10,000 is the most important. And it's great you guys put your own cash in first, because you're on the journey with the investors the whole way along.
Yeah.
So you guys started with the marketing channel that got you 3,500, which sounds like an awesome wait list. I think most traditional financial services providers would kill to have that type of a wait list, or they really love to have that type of wait list. What happened after that? So you got the wait list together, and then did you immediately start accepting funds, or was it like a trial with a couple of them at first? Like, how did it actually start to scale?
Yeah, so we did, I believe it was 500 at a time we would open up access to. And then it basically just helped us be able to handle volume and any issues that we're picking up, we could just fix on the fly without being too overwhelmed. So it was 500 customers until we went through the 3,500. And then after that, we were like, okay, we have a reasonable amount of volume through the platform. We're comfortable that we can handle any of the challenges. And then we opened the doors to everyone else.
Okay, so then the first 500 came in, you figured it out, said, okay, these are our teething issues kind of done.
Yeah.
And now we're ready to open up to the market. And I think just focusing on that initial marketing initiative that you did that generated that growth, what do you think it was that generated so much interest? Was it personal brand, the rates of return? What would you put it down to?
Definitely competitive rates of return. Also, we don't charge sign-up, transfer, or withdrawal fees on the platform. So competitive targeted returns and no fees, they were, and actually still are, the key value props. Why? And it keeps users basically coming back.
Might be good because a lot of our listeners are both financial advisors and direct investors. If you could just talk to how you're getting that return. So is it you're looking at bonds or private credit behind the scenes? What is it that's giving you that extra bit of alpha in the fixed income space?
So the underlying portfolio is a little bit of cash, NCDs, semi-government, government and corporate bonds. And we basically use those tools to be able to target a 5.95% return for Blossom Save and a 7% per annum return for Blossom Plus.
Okay, and on the two products, Blossom Save and Blossom Plus, what are the terms? Like, do you have to lock for a period, or is it what's the liquidity like?
So the 5.95 target, daily liquidity, $5 minimum, and earnings posted and compounded daily. And then on the 7% target return product, there's a 3-month lockup, earnings posted daily, compounded quarterly, and a $5,000 minimum.
So it's low barrier to entry, which is great. And then have you, I mean, obviously we said it's apples and oranges, looking at asset classes, but just on those numbers, we're seeing term deposits now at what rate? About 4%?
Yeah.
4.5%. And then in order for people to get access to high yielding products, let's say they go to the private credit market and they want to go to a first mortgage fund, which is comparable to return profile to what you've got, but different product. I'm seeing minimums of 100,000, 200,000, 300,000. So your product actually gives the everyday investor an opportunity to get access to that type of return. So because you've now got a marketing funnel, you're democratizing access, that means you'd have a broad range of people investing in your product. But what are the demographics? Like, who are your typical customers?
Yeah, we call them the 4 Charlies. Do you want to talk about all of them?
Sure. So we have Charlie, and Charlie.
Yeah.
2 female cohorts and 2 male cohorts. And what we're seeing on the platform at the moment is the youngest Charlie is about 28 to 32. Young professional, wants to be more savvy with her savings, loves Blossom, easy to understand, easy to use. Then we have a young mum, so a little bit older, about 32 to 38, wants passive income, so loves using Blossom because it provides that exactly. Then we have the first male demographic, which is also the 28 to 35-year-old demographic, and very financially literate, call him a finance bro, uses Blossom to diversify his investing. And then the final Charlie is the 55 plus cohort, generally high net worth, probably has an SMSF as well. And through the SMSF would be saving for second or third investment property. But they'd be ranging from account balances from 250K to about 750,000.
And why are they Charlies? Why is it the 4 Charlies?
When we did all our user research before we launched the business, our key target market was a female 28 to 35-year-old, and we called her Charlie just because it met the brand and suited the brand at the time. Yeah. And then we didn't shy away from using Charlie in the future.
It's just Charlie going forward now.
Charlie. Yeah. And that's on the individual side. And then we have the business or the entity accounts that whether you're an SMSF, as Gabs mentioned, or even a business with operating capital, a charity that has reserves sitting there, you can open an account with us as well and put your capital away to grow. So that's very much my focus day to day, and trying to open up those distribution channels. And that's all the learning and early days. But those are the 4 key retail demographics for sure.
So you're looking to break into the sort of entity or structured space, and are you focused on the individuals? Is that how you break it up, or is there no break up?
She's nodding, but she's fibbing. My role is very much on the business partnership side, and Gabs operates and manages a whole lot more within the business, but works very closely with our growth team on the individual or the retail market.
Okay.
But yes, she also makes sure we can keep the lights on and make sure the team's happy, and has a lot under her umbrella of many Blossom operational skills.
All my hats.
Oh yeah,
all
my hats. Yeah.
Well, having launched a company myself in the last 2 years, I understand the many hats that you have to have on and wear at any given time to get a business off the ground. So kudos to the both of you for getting the business to where it is today. Now, perhaps you could share with our audience a little bit about the growth journey. So you've had different milestones within the business. You've given us an understanding of how it works and the Charlies, but can you talk a bit about sort of the growth, key milestones and things that you've celebrated over the journey since inception?
Go for it.
So we have doubled FUM every year since inception. So I remember the first big milestone was when we hit 10 mil, which was fantastic. And then at the end of 2022, we hit 25 mil. And then the following year, we ended at 50 mil. And then the end of last year, the 26th of December, we hit 100 mil. And that was just really fantastic. And it was such a milestone for the team. So we've been in market for 3.5 years. We currently have just over 100 mil under management. And we have a community of 24,000 who are saving with us. Some of the biggest milestones along the way was launching our second investment option. So that's the 7% target return. We actually raised 40 mil in less than 1 year. I think it was about 9 months. So that was an awesome achievement for the team as well. And then smaller, like less business milestones, but more personal milestones. We have 1 in 3 savers on the platform are using Blossom to save for a home deposit. So we have these fantastic stories coming through of people who've been saving with us since 2020, 2021. And they've just slowly over time been contributing to these savings goals. It's growing with Blossom. And then they actually hit the savings goal, buy the property, and then we get this beautiful testimonial from them with the photo of a for sale sign. And they're like, wow, it wouldn't have been possible if I didn't have Blossom, which is by far the most motivating part for the team. So it's been fantastic.
That's awesome. Yeah.
And I think we're really good at setting the goals, tracking the goals, reflecting on the goals. And so I think for us, we reflect a lot. We've been lucky that we've been able to reflect a lot. And when you asked earlier about what was important to us at the beginning when we were starting to build the business and what we needed to make sure was going to be part of the product, I think for us, 2 main pieces were, 1, making sure we can sleep at night, knowing that the actual investment style is what we have confidence in being able to deliver, making sure that the returns were suitable for people's savings, and just knowing that we were genuinely doing something great for people, opening up this asset class. I mean, you know it better than most of us do. We're taking a really sophisticated product and opening it up to the retail market, and just proud to be doing that and allowing people to make a major difference in their lives, and starting with their financial goals.
Yeah.
So I think we're fortunate that we've been able to set the goals, reach it, reflect, and continue to be proud of what we're actually doing every single day, which was so important to us when we were starting to build a business, that it was, doing the right thing for people, and making sure we can sleep at night.
The sleep at night factor is massive for you and your customers, right? Because then you know that if you've got your money in there, you're sleeping well, they're sleeping well, they're getting towards their goals, and it's creating a harmonious relationship between you and the clients, and then building your community as well at the same time, which sounds like it's large now. 24,000. Is that active investors with you, or is that is that your reach on socials?
No, sign-ups on the platform. So 24,000 accounts with Blossom.
That's awesome. So then there's a lot of scope to grow those balances over time. So of the 24,000, which has the highest concentration of Charlies? Is that the younger demographic that's the most concentrated, or is it?
It would be Charlie number 1. The younger professionals would be the highest concentration, but it wouldn't be the biggest concentration of funds under management. That would be a different profile, yeah.
But you and the accumulators, they're the ones you want, because they make constant contributions to the product, and that's what you want. They'll keep growing your business over time, and it'll compound with the returns organically anyway.
Compounding effect.
That's right. Yeah, and because it's compounding more often with your product, it means it'll grow faster. So I've built a wealth management practice around fixed income solutions, and early in my investing life and my career journey, I invested in a lot of high risk solutions, things like corporate mandates, things that were like small mining companies, and these things that offer wild returns but also had massive downside risk. And my business, which was a book of clients in my prior role, was really concentrated to just those high risk guys. And then the moment I started changing the way I did business and focused on fixed income, and I used bank hybrids, which was soon to be gone from the Australian market, but also bonds were in there as well. As soon as I offered those solutions, the floodgates opened, and the investment community likes predictability, they like consistency, and they also prefer things that don't offer the drawdown risk. So it's a great product that you've built. And I think there's some other things that are really unique about the two of you as well. And you're both ladies in finance, and that's becoming a rare thing these days. So there are specific networking groups I was talking to you about before we started this podcast, but there's a desire by the broader investment community to work with people like you. So it's great, because I feel like you guys are positioned to really target that young entrepreneurial market, which is booming at the moment. You see it all over your social media, but then also penetrate the traditional finance markets as well. So that's really exciting for you both. How are you finding it dealing with the finance bro market? How's it going dealing with the old school guys?
We love it.
Yeah.
I feel guilty saying that because I know that the generation before us found it much more difficult, and I think we've been surrounded by men in finance our whole life, so it's just second nature, and we're fortunate in that regard.
I think the most impressive part, it's got nothing to do with gender. It's what you're building. It's the business. It's what's really piqued my interest is obviously your background, that you've got that tech startup background, and then now you're creating this really scalable solution that it will be great for the investment community to access. And in terms of the accessibility of the product itself, how does that work? Like, are you approved on platforms at the moment, or is it direct through the app? How does it work if someone wants to get access to Blossom?
So we have our own app, both on mobile and web. There's definitely direct access for those that want it. When we're starting to work with advisors, we're exploring the platform route, and as you know, that's in progress. But yeah, at the moment, it's for an individual to get started, it's 2 minutes. You go to blossomapp.com or download our app from the Google or Play Store, and you give the usual identification details to get signed up, and you can fund your account instantly, and the same through our web app. So for businesses, we require a little bit more know your business information so that we can do all the background checks, and that can take up to 10 minutes, but it's a complete self-service online experience, but we're always happy to do as much of the hand-holding as possible to make it a seamless onboarding.
And just changing gear a bit, we've talked a lot about the product, but and I guess your history. Let's talk about what the future holds for Blossom. What are some of the plans you've got for 2025 and beyond?
We have some very exciting plans. First, we're launching joint accounts in a couple of weeks, which has been hugely driven by our community. They just said, like, I want to be able to open up a Blossom account with my partner, so let me have it. So that's coming. After that, hopefully, we'll be ready to launch investment product number 3. Won't talk too much about that because we're still in the building phase. And then we're rolling out some better functionality in New Zealand. We'll have instant payments and roundup functionality over there because we launched in New Zealand in December last year. So we'll focus this year on growing New Zealand as well. And then Blossom for Kids, which was also really community driven. People want to set up a Blossom account for kids or grandkids, nieces, nephews. And so we're very excited to roll that out as well.
And how would that work? That's something that's held in the parents' names on behalf of the children, in trust for the children when they turn 18 or 21. Is that how that structure would work?
So it will be, the child will be the beneficiary, but for tax purposes, it will be in the child's name. And then, we need to develop a rollover or handover functionality when the child turns 18. Now,
if someone wanted to have their superannuation, you mentioned you've got that channel. Is that open now, the superannuation channel?
Yeah, so you, as in to be able to open an account in your super name, absolutely.
Yeah, so then they can get their regular employee contributions.
No, so it doesn't work like that. If you were to have funds in your superannuation and you have a self-managed superannuation and you can, at your discretion, pick the investments that you would like your money to go into, you could open an account and transfer your super money into a Blossom account and watch it grow in that way.
We talked about what is in the future for you. What were some of the key learnings that you've picked up since building the business?
So many learning every day still. I think a big one is that very few people in Australia understand fixed income or know how it works. It's way bigger in Europe and America. So we kind of realized that we needed to not only sell a product, but also educate people on what we're selling. And we're still even refining and iterating our language and how we communicate that every day. Another learning is that everything takes longer and is more expensive than we initially plan or budget for. So we just have to be so patient. And I think we were told before we started Blossom that it's a 10-year endeavor. You need to be on this journey for 10 years. And if you think there's going to be 1 year less than that, you're just probably going to be wrong. And now we understand why. You have to be so patient. It takes so long. And all these businesses, Uber, Tesla, SpaceX, everything, 10-year overnight successes. So I think we're learning that.
Yeah. I would add having a co-founder is awesome. I'm lucky that it's my sister.
Yeah.
And so we didn't have to get to know each other. We didn't have to work out, how each other work or how we operate and everything that comes with trying to find the right partner to grow a business. But I think having someone that's on your team and that you can just bounce ideas off. I mean, you have the same. I could not imagine a solo founder journey, and I take my hat off to all of them out there that have done amazing jobs, but it's just been critical, I think, for our path. Yeah.
And if you were able to go back to the inception of Blossom and tell yourselves one key thing to help you improve Blossom for the future, what would that have been for each of you?
Wow.
I've got mine. I think it's don't feel like you need to know everything right now. Like you're just going to learn everything you need to know along the way, I should say. And I think sometimes I don't get patient because you want to know everything right now, but it might not be relevant right now, and you'll learn it only when you need to know it. So I think there's like a huge learning curve, and I just don't need to put pressure on myself that I need to be an expert on every function of the business from day dot.
Do you have yours?
I think probably just to make decisions quicker and then learn from them, because I mean the mistakes are there to be made and to be learned from. And I often, definitely at the beginning, I was too slow to jump on something. I might wait a week before I sent a particular email or wanted to do extra research or pick up the phone. Just go with it and stop overthinking it.
Yeah. I picked up on that with the scripting early on and things like that. I was like, she's one of those.
That's preparation.
But it's great.
Sure.
And I think there's two parts to this podcast. Obviously, there's the part about you guys being entrepreneurs, and then obviously the financial product itself. But we do appeal to a lot of entrepreneurs. We have business owners who are clients of ours. What is some key advice that you would give young entrepreneurs who are considering doing something like this?
Get out there and just launch it and get it in market and learn from it. I know it's easier said than done, but yeah.
I think mine would be, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. And so if you're very excited about something, if it's keeping you up at night, just take a punt, just do it.
Yeah, I think you got to take the leap. You have to be able to take on some risk, but it can be calculated risk. And if you know what that might look like if you achieve certain milestones, which in your business, it's easily quantifiable. You can say, okay, well at 50 million, it's this. We know what our cost base is. At 100 million, it's that. And then by December next year, it'll be 200 million if you keep going on the same journey that you're on now, which will be really, really exciting.
Fingers crossed.
What's
your one thing you'd tell yourself before you started the business?
Go harder, 100%. So I've been asked that question on 3 other podcasts, so I was prepared. But it's definitely that to run at it harder, because I was quite conservative earlier in my career, and had I been more aggressive on things like business development or personal brand marketing, then that would have given me a bigger foundation. But I think you guys are nailing that aspect in terms of like the personal brand and also the business development journey that you're on, and your patience is paying off, because now it's scaling and you're almost at that level where it will just scale organically, where the returns of the fund will actually just give you that organic growth. So congratulations on building such a wonderful business and product.
Thank you. Thank you for your support.
That's okay. And look, thank you for your time. We normally only do this for 30 minutes or so I think we're about there. But just in closing off, if any of our investors or clients would like to find you, where should they look to find you?
Go on.
So you can find us at blossomapp.com. We also have a mobile app on the App Store or the Play Store. And we have a website as well. So just go to blossomapp.com, click the sign up or login button. And there's also a live chat, so you can just ask us questions whenever you need to, and we're always here to help.
Great. Well, if anyone's looking for them, I'll put Ali and Gabby's details in the bio of the podcast. I'll link your LinkedIn profiles. And then if anyone wants to chat, or if they have any questions, if you'd like independent advice, reach out to someone at RiverX. Alternatively, chat with the girls, and they'll look after you. Thanks very much.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks for having us.